I think recording is started.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi Hitendra. So thank you for joining us. So let me just introduce, then I'll pass to you. Hi everyone, this is your community and this is Power Platform UZ, which is powered by Dynamics Communities and supported by the 365 Champ and definitely our own Microsoft. So, uh, so this is all about Meetup sponsorship, and this is the supported by Microsoft Dynamics Communities 365 Champs. And this is our link. Actually, you can join using this user link, and you can join our meetup sessions every month we are conducting. So this is our April meetup. So this is all about just want to convey what exactly this group is all about. This is our Singapore Power Platform UG meetup group, which is mostly we will deal about Power Platform discussions. It's Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, Power BI, and all those stuffs, Power Platform connected stuffs. And then this is Goloknath. Actually, myself Goloknath. Actually, I'm your local representative, so we can discuss on this. Then global representative is Prashant. He may join because he's stuck in some office work. So if he's free, he will join, or later we'll see. And then welcome Hitendra Changalani. Actually, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to provide us some inputs on Power Automate document processing and process advisor. He is the global black belt and Power Platform specialist in Microsoft. So I just want to hand over to Hiten.
Right, thanks. Thanks, Goloknath. Just give me a couple of seconds to set everything right.
Yeah.
Apparently, Microsoft Office went through some upgrade last night internally,
Okay.
and I'm trying to figure out how all that is working. So, uh, hang on.
Okay.
I will just share my screen, make sure everything looks okay, and then we can start.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Goloknath, the user group, thanks for inviting me. My name is Hitendra. I am one of the global back belts and technical specialists in Microsoft Singapore. Uh, I've been in this role for a few years now, and I work with customers and our partners all across Asia, although I'm based in Singapore. Most of my time, I focus and work with some of the larger customers that Microsoft has in the region. But I'm also asked to support other customers, in other different what may not be considered large, right? But I do support customers of all sizes and all industries across Asia. My focus is purely on Power Platform, that is Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, Dataverse, AI Builder, and so on. I don't really spend so much time on Power BI, but mostly on the Power Apps and Power Automate front. So once again, thank you for inviting me. And I basically have two topics that I will cover in the next 45, 50 minutes or so. That gives us some time to have questions and a bit of a discussion as well. So when I was speaking with Golaknath, I think what 2 weeks ago now, I think maybe 10 days ago, uh,
Yes.
we kind of uh, talked through what could be good topics that we can cover in this session, and we settled on the two that you see on the screen. So I'm going to spend some time on talking about the new document automation toolkit that we have released, which everybody can download and start using. And then the second half of this session, I will talk about the process advisor functionality. So a quick, show of hands, or maybe, if you can just give me an idea, how many in the group today are familiar with the new document automation toolkit that has been released? Has anybody tried it out or anybody familiar with it? If you can just raise your hand on Teams, that also will give me an idea. Or I don't see a lot of hands, so it means it's a new topic, which is good. So at least I am not talking about something you are already familiar with, so that's not a bad thing. So that's the first topic I want to talk about. Um, so what is the documentation automation? What is the document automation toolkit? It's basically a set of assets and a pre-built solution that has been provided by Microsoft for anyone to download and start using. Uh, some of you might be familiar with some of the other solutions that have been released. So maybe you are familiar with the COVID communication solution that was released 1 year ago, or the return to work solution that was released about 3 or 4 months ago, right? Some of you might be familiar with that. So in the line of that same series, we now have the documentation automation toolkit as well. So the idea here being that Microsoft keeps releasing these pre-built solutions, which we can use as templates. We can customize them if we want, and start using them for our own purposes. One of the newer ones in this series has been Microsoft Vaccination Management. Again, I'm not sure if the audience is familiar with that. That's one more that you can take a look at. So the idea is that all of these solutions that we provide are available for anyone to use as long as you have the correct licenses and the correct use rights of the platform, right? So not all of these are always with Office. Many of these also require the full plans of Power Platform. Again, today is not a licensing discussion, but just be aware that some of these do require the full platform licenses. All right, so getting into the document automation toolkit itself. This toolkit is basically a starting point. So you get a series of assets, which you can either deploy as is, or you can customize it and make changes and make it work in the way that you want it for yourself. So what does it actually include? So the document automation toolkit includes a few assets. So it includes basically a series of flows. I'll show you that. It includes some table definitions or entity definitions. It includes one Canvas app, and a few other components are part of it. The whole concept of this documentation automation solution is to basically help you manage the documents that are received in the organization and need to be processed. So the way it works is you have the suppliers here on the bottom left. They will typically email documents across, and these documents could be POs or invoices or application forms or account opening documents, and whatever it may be, which are typically received in a service mailbox. And that service mailbox triggers some processes, wherein those processes trigger the storing of those documents, the processing of those documents using AI Builder, and then giving a UX or an application for the right people to review the documents that have been processed. So what you see in this bluish gray box is the scope of the document automation solution. It's designed to be extensible. So what it means is that beyond this, if you want to go and plug it into your backend, order system or ERP system or any other system, then of course you can go ahead and extend this solution. So that further processing is actually not part of the solution, because it's a bit hard to kind of templatize that. Very often different companies will have their own different systems in which they would want to manage these documents. So the out-of-the-box experience kind of covers these three major areas, which you see in this bluish gray rectangle here, right? So that's actually what it's all about. It's actually designed to be set up very easily because it's delivered as a managed solution. So what it does is, it has some Power Automate cloud flows to orchestrate the overall process. Just a quick note on this. This doesn't include any RPA or Power Automate desktop components because those are very specific to different companies. So that part is not really there. Sorry, I think the screen share has stopped. Somebody decided to share this mobile phone screen. Let me start sharing again. I don't know. Are you seeing a mobile phone or are you seeing my slides?
Mobile screen now.
Okay, somebody has decided that their mobile screen is more interesting.
I think somebody said, yeah, you can stop sharing.
Anyway, I'll switch back. So, okay. So I do not know when the screen share changed, but just to recap, what you see in this blue gray box is the scope, which gets triggered by receipt of an email in a service mailbox, and then the documents get processed. and there is an application available to review and process or manually, kind of take those documents forward. This is designed to be extensible. So if you want to take those documents and pump it into your own, ERP or order management system or any other system, you can obviously extend that. So the toolkit includes, Power Automate flows, which is designed to process documents which are received by email. It is designed to work with your own AI builder model, so that data can be extracted and it can be reviewed in what is called a validation station. This is basically a Canvas app, which I will show you. And then, of course, as I said earlier, you can extract and export that data to any backend system in the company, right? So that's basically how it is. And all the configuration and all the records and the documents themselves, everything is stored in Dataverse or CDS, if you prefer using the term CDS. So it's a very simple installation. You install it directly from the AI Builder menu in Power Automate. So you will not see this option in Power Apps, by the way. You will see this only in Power Automate. And it's a very easy wizard-driven configuration. The key point is that the user who is installing the solution must have the rights to install a solution in that environment. So please, if you're going to try and install it for yourself, please make sure you have the right user rights and the right privileges which allow you to install a solution. And you can use your own AI builder model to process the documents that come in. All right. So let's take a look into the solution itself, right? How it looks. All right. Okay. So here I am in Power Automate. So I'm in this particular environment called Playground. So if I go to AI Builder and if I select Document Automation, it will basically show up and gives me a mechanism to go and install it from here itself, right? So the entire process which I explained in these slides is also replicated here. All right, which receive the documents, extract, validate, etc., etc. And you can go and actually install it from the Power Automate user interface itself, right? So when you select it and you install it, it gets installed like any other managed solution. All right. So this is basically as simple as it gets. So this is the document automation toolkit. By clicking on select inside Power Automate, you can get it installed in your particular environment. There is also a learning path, actually. So if you look at this documentation, which tells you how to get started, this actually goes and opens up Microsoft Learn, and the entire steps to configure it are available here. So you can actually go through this documentation as well, and it talks to you as to how you can configure it. So it goes through everything and so on, right? So this is basically the entire documentation that's available for you to take a look at it. It's quite easy to install and set up. I think, maybe within an hour, it should be up and running, right? The vanilla out of the box solution that is there. It really doesn't take a long time. Maybe less than an hour if you have your AI builder model ready. All right. So let's take a look at what actually gets installed when you click on when you click on this select and install the solution. Let's take a look at what actually gets involved. So I'm going to switch environments because I have installed it in another environment. So let me switch that, and you'll see that it installs a solution called the Document Automation Base Kit. That is the name of the solution that gets installed. And as you can see, it is a managed solution because you can see all these locks are on. It is a managed solution that gets installed. All right. Now, this solution includes, as I said, a few things. So it includes one Canvas app, which is available for somebody who's supposed to review the documents that come in, right? It has a few choices or option sets in our old terminology. It has 3 flows, and I'll show you these flows as well. And there are some connection references. There is a security role as well called document automation reviewer. And so you need to decide whether you want to give the security role to everybody or do you want to give it only to one person. So basically there are 2 roles. There is a configurator role and there is a reviewer role. So a configurator role means the guy can actually set up, make sure the right AI builder model has been selected and go and set up the whole solution. And the reviewer is the one who has the privileges to review the documents that have been processed by the different flows that we have got. And then there are 4 tables that are available as well. So there is one table for taxonomy, there is one table for automation processing, one table for data, and one for the configuration, right? So each of these tables is basically storing the records. So the data and the processing store the records. The taxonomy is basically something that you can use to either edit or modify the taxonomy that you want to use in the solution. And the configuration is storing all the configuration that you have done. So all of this is stored inside Dataverse itself, right? Um, what you'll see here is that there is no AI model in the solution, and that's because the document automation toolkit expects you to bring your own AI model, right? Okay, so that's basically all the solution components that are included in the solution. So I'm going to actually switch over to this Canvas app and show you how it looks like. So let me come here. So the Canvas app basically has 2 parts. There is a documents part and there is a configuration part. So let's take a look at the configuration part first. So here I've already configured it against an AI model. But if you don't have any configuration done, you will see a button here called Add Configuration. All right. So basically, this button, when you click, it'll help you go and set up the configuration. But I'll just go and select this one to edit the configuration. But the steps and the UX is pretty much the same. So basically what it does is it asks you to select an AI model. So you can go and select whatever AI model that you need. So these are all the different AI models that I have in my environment. So what it picks up are basically the form processing AI builder models. So the one that I'm using in this session, in this demo, is actually the loan application form. But you obviously will build your own, right? So this is the one that I'm using. And once I'm selected this, it asks me to do field mapping. Okay. So depending upon the model that I have chosen, the different fields that are available for extraction are going to be available here, right? So if I kind of go back to give you an example, so let's say I choose invoice processing as an example. So if I choose invoice processing, you will basically see that it is going to show you the fields that the invoice processing model has been designed to extract. So you can see its invoice number, invoice date, and so on. This mapping is really what goes and sits inside one of the configuration in the Dataverse tables that we have got. All right. This is kind of to have a bit of a standardization so that the solution can work, right? So basically, whatever be your AI model and however you might have set up, this kind of gives a mapping so that the data goes and sits in the correct places inside the Dataverse tables. Now, you might ask me, how many such fields can I map? So last I have checked, you can map up to 10. I haven't tried any model which has more than 10. So I would encourage you to try and let us know if you have a model which is extracting more than 10 fields, right? So I have tried up till 10. In fact, this model actually goes up to 9 already, right? Um, so basically, you go and choose whichever model that you want to choose, and you click on save, and your configuration will be updated, right? So obviously, I'm not going to change my configuration here, but this is literally the 2 or 3 steps that you need to do to configure and map your AI builder model with this particular solution, right? I, I kind of take it that you are familiar with AI Builder and you are familiar with the form processing model. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, right? So I'm assuming that those models are already there and you are able to access them. All right. So once this is there, then the process basically starts, and an email is sent, and that email triggers a couple of flows, right? So the first flow that the email triggers is this one, which is called the document automation email importer. So if you take a look at this flow, what it does is it triggers on receipt of an email, all right, and then when that email arrives, for every attachment in the email, it gets the configuration. So it basically looks at the document automation configuration table that we have got, and then for the configuration, uh, it creates a new record in the automation processing. So it basically says I have a new document that I need to process, and it gives a name which is based on the received time, and it goes and also attaches the attachment that came in the email. All right. and then that attachment gets uploaded as well. All right, using this expression. And finally, it does some basic checks whether the document type is valid or not. So it basically checks, is it a PDF or a JPEG or a PNG? So it may, so if it is not in the right format, it will basically go and fail. It will go down this path. But if it is the right format, it will go and, change the processing status to extracting data. So that's basically what it does. All right. So here you can see if the document format is not correct, it says invalid document, it changes the status. But if it is a valid format, it changes the status to extracting data. So this is one of those choice lists or the option sets that is part of the solution itself. So this is what the first flow actually goes and does. All right. Once the email has come in and the document record has been created, then the processor flow takes over, right? So this processor flow basically takes the document which has the appropriate status. All right. So basically, you can see it is always checking for the processing status. So it's actually filtered on that. This is the choice number, right? The identification of the choice. So it picks that and goes ahead, gets the attachment, gets the model to be used from the configuration, and runs the prediction on that model. So it goes and takes the AI model, passes the record, and gets the output. If there's a problem, there is an error handling step here, which basically goes and says that this document had an error. But if there is no problem and the AI worked properly, it goes and makes some other updates as well. So it gets the key from the taxonomy, and it goes and extracts all the values that it needs to extract, and it creates a document processing data in that table. So this is where all the output of the AI builder form processing gets stored. Or you can see it's actually going up to almost maybe 25, 30 fields. I've tried up to 10, but here you can see it's going up to 25 or 30 fields already. Anyway, so it goes and updates that table and finally updates the status as well, right? So that's basically what the second flow does. It takes the AI, it takes the document, runs it through the AI builder, extracts the right information, and goes and updates and the processing status as well. And then the third flow comes into the picture. And this flow basically has the validation steps, right? So this flow again goes and runs whenever the status is validated, and it goes and updates the record. And that's pretty much what it does, right? It goes and updates the record and says it's a manual review. Now, these flows can obviously be changed if you think that it needs to go through a different process. But these are typically the three flows that run fired upon the statuses of the document itself, right? So that's basically how it works. Okay. So if you want to kind of see this in action, let's basically send an email. So here I am in Gmail, right? So this is my dummy Gmail system, and I'm going to send an email to one of the user IDs in my tenant, all right? So loan application attached, and this is my loan application document, right? This is what the document is in the format in which the AI builder model has been trained. So when I send this email, it's going to take, I think, a couple of minutes or so. And what we will see is that the first flow will start running. It takes maybe half a minute or so. So we'll just keep refreshing for half a minute, and the flow will start running. And what will happen is each of these flows will run, and my table here in the Canvas app will be updated. So you can see the flow is running, and it has changed the status to extracting data. And this flow should be running now, or it's already finished, right? So this is 11:25, April 10th. It just finished. The second flow also possibly is still running. All right. And once this finishes, the third flow will also run. And so the second flow is the one that takes a little while, because this is the one that is actually doing the AI builder processing. So if I kind of drill into the run details. So this is where the AI builder is running, right? So AI builder done, all okay. Just gone down this path. So if I come back and come to the third flow, that should have also finished running, right? So that one has also finished. All right. Now if I go back to the application and if I refresh this, it has gone into the manual review process. So if I can select that, what you will see is the PDF itself here and all the data that was extracted. Now here we have an error because I think I changed the model to be used, right? I think there was an error. I changed the wrong model. But effectively, all the document gets extracted, and if I'm happy with it, I can just validate, and the process will complete. All right. So that's basically the document automation process that we have got in the that you can try it out. Okay. Oh, okay. I think this is because of the model issue. All right. So that's what the whole document automation kit solution is. Any questions, any points that you would like to know more, or anything that you would like me to go over once again? Please let's have a quick chat before we move on to the second topic of Process Advisor. Questions? Any comments?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I can see one question. Refreshing need to do manual. I think the previous we have done refresh, right? Mainly
You
that.
don't need to do it manually. It will automatically get refreshed. But if you want to do it manually, you can do it manually as well. So this is a manual option, but it is for the demo. I did manual refresh, but actually, whenever you load the application, it is always going to read, read the latest records. Uh, you can also, if you want to have a timed refresh, you can always edit this application and do, let's say, a force a refresh if you want every 1 minute or every 30 seconds. So that's also possible.
Hitendra, one query.
Yep.
So you have done at the end the validate. So is it like opening a one document and doing a validation, or what about if couple of records or document comes into picture?
So the way the standard solution has been designed is to do it document by document, because what you want to do is actually take a look at whether all the extraction for that particular document has happened correctly or not. That's basically the concept here. Um, there is a potential opportunity for changing this, wherein what you could do is you could actually put fields here on the information that has been extracted and provide a multi-select, but that would be an extension, right? The standard one is designed to be document by document. Like you have the document PDF on one side, you have the extracted information on the other side, and if you are happy, then you validate it. That's the manual validation process. You can also consider changing the flow if you want to put in some conditional logic which says that if these conditions are met, then it's considered to be auto validated as well. So those are some of the extension possibilities. The solution itself is designed for a manual one by one kind of a validation.
Okay, perfect. And
Uh,
these grids are configurable, right? Like we can add multiple columns if we want
Oh yeah. This
with
is
all the
this is the
screens.
Canvas app
Mhm.
actually. So you can
Okay,
just take this Canvas app and make your own changes.
okay. And the flows you mentioned at the left navigation, so all those come from the solution itself, or you have
Yes.
created all those stuff?
So the three flows that I showed you are part of the solution itself.
Okay, so no need to configure there. And if needed, we can configure, you mean to say, right?
Yeah, the only configuration you might want to do in these flows will be primarily in the first one, wherein you
Okay.
might want to, configure the trigger. So you might want to say that, hey, look, trigger only when it receives on a particular inbox or to a particular recipient with, particular subject filter or something of that sort. Like in my case, I have put the loan should be in the subject for this trigger to run. So this is the minor configuration you might want to do so that it doesn't run on every email that comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that you have to be careful of is you have to make sure that include attachments should be yes. because the document is going to be the attachment, right? So you must make sure that the attachments must be there. Yeah.
Okay. So we can schedule this also, right? We can apply the
This is
schedule
not
also.
scheduled. This is triggered on the email receipt.
Okay.
So whenever the email is received, this flow will run.
I see. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, hi Hitendra. Actually, I can see a couple of questions in the chat room actually.
Okay.
One is this model already available or it is in preview state? As per my understanding, it's in preview, right?
It is in preview currently. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So
It is
it
in preview,
address.
but effectively the components under it are all generally available, right? It's because
Yeah.
all what
Yeah.
this solution is providing is really packaging some flows and some tables and some option sets and so on. So each of those underlying components are all generally available.
Right.
It's just a solution that they have put it in preview.
Okay, I think that address one query. And second, can it process scan PDF to extract information? This is
Oh
another
yeah,
question.
that's exactly what the AI builder is doing.
Yeah. So this address second one. Third one actually, hi Hitendra, could you kindly show the steps one more time?
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to do the past 30 minutes in 3 minutes. Okay. So
Yeah.
so basically what you do is in your environment, go to Power Automate and go to Document Automation Preview and select. When you select this, it will install the solution in that environment. Okay. Once the installation is complete, there is a documentation below which tells you how to configure it. All right. But I'll show you the configuration. It's quite straightforward. So you open up the Canvas app that is part of the solution. Uh, Go to the configuration tab. Now, to see the configuration tab, the user must have a particular security role, which the document actually talks about, which is called the configurator role or something like that, right? So the first time you come to this, you will see a button here called Add Configuration. But in my case, since I've already done the configuration, I can see the configuration record here. This configuration record is also stored in a table in Dataverse. So if I open this up, it'll ask me to select my uh, AI builder model. So you must make sure that you have your AI builder model ready. Okay. So select your AI builder model, and the solution will read your AI builder model and identify the fields from the AI builder model that are available for extraction. And once you are happy with that, save it, and the configuration is done. So it's literally that straightforward, right? Add your configuration means select your AI builder model and make sure that you have the right fields that are being mapped, right? And that's pretty much it. And after that, the flow will run whenever the email is received, and I mean all those couple of flows will run, and you will have your documents all here, and this is where you will go, and as a person who is responsible for reviewing these documents, they can open it up and then they can actually see that, okay, this is the document that the AI builder model ran through. Now in this case, because I changed the configuration, my AI builder model that was used was a different one, so I have a problem here, right? So I can actually go and say that, okay, I need to change this, pick the right one or whatever, and then validate this. So if let's say 567, 567, 567, loan amount is 50,000, and I can go and validate, put some comments, and the process will change, and you can see it's been changed to validated. All right. So that's basically the out of the box solution design.
Okay, I think that addressed the next that query. And next query is actually, does the mapping of the field work for any type of attribute in the document, like option sets and checkboxes?
Uh, Option sets and checkboxes. Okay, the document. See, one of the things that which we are trying to improve in AI Builder is how it works with those forms which have boxes, right? So like checkbox where you put an X or a tick mark, or forms which have boxes in which you write your name and so on. So there is some work actually happening to improve the recognition for those kind of documents. Those kind of documents, sometimes AI Builder itself uh, can do a little better. Let me put it that way.
Okay, there is another, I think this one, then another query we have. AI builder model is part of this pre-built solution, I guess. I think yes, right? AI builder model is part of this pre-built solution.
Um, not not exactly. So
Mhm.
the solution expects you to bring your own AI Builder model.
Okay.
So the solution doesn't include any AI Builder models, because the concept there is that you would train your own AI Builder form processing model based upon the documents that you want to process and plug them in here. That's basically the whole concept of the solution. Because you could use this, because remember, this is for different kind of documents. So you could use this for a PO, you could use this for an invoice. In my case, I used it for a loan application and so on, right? So the idea is you train the AI Builder model using your own document set, and and as part of the configuration, you select which of your AI models that you want to use in this solution. That's how it works.
Okay. There are no more queries. So then we'll proceed with
All
next.
right,
Yeah. Thank you.
awesome. Okay, so let's move to the next topic. I don't have a lot of time for that one, but let's really quickly talk about process mining, right? So this is basically a new feature that was announced in preview in December. So about 4 months, almost exactly 4 months actually. On, if I remember correctly, it was announced on 9th or 10th of December. So it's literally 4 months on the dot, you know, that we announced it. So basically, what the whole concept of the solution is this, right? That with Power Automate, it's very easy to automate whatever process we want to automate, right? It's especially with Power Automate Desktop, which is the RPA functionality that we have got. Getting the automation done is quite easy, relatively speaking. But sometimes the challenge is, what should I automate? What process is worth automating? All right. And that is where sometimes, people get stuck as to, I've got 20 processes in the business. Which is the one that we should really be automating first? Which is the one where people spend most time or has the most, opportunity for improvement? Maybe let's look at that first. And that kind of becomes a challenge in large organizations. And that's because, all processes are not equal, right? So the ones that are having the most manual burden are the ones that typically you want to automate in the beginning, right? Because that will give you the immediate value of the automation. Also, what happens is that people when they are executing these processes, we sometimes do a lot of these processes without realizing what we are doing, right? And so we might be actually spending time in certain clicks or certain actions and so on, but we may not really realize that we are spending time on all of this, right? And what are the steps that happen before the core part of a process? What are the steps that happen after the core part of process? Sometimes we lose visibility of that. And also, the other thing that happens is the processes change over time, right? And it also changes by the person who is using it. So we might define a process which says that, hey, this is how you should do a record entry in a CRM or in your ERP or in any other HR system or whatever you have. This is the way you should do the process. But nobody really does it exactly the way you have said it, right? Somebody might find a shortcut. Somebody might find a faster way. Somebody might be doing it in a slower way, and so on, right? So these things also keep changing. So which is the way to address it, and how do we actually automate? So these are some of the challenges that typically come up, and that's what the process advisor is designed to do. As I said, it was in public preview exactly 4 months ago, and because it's in preview right now, there is no licensing. So as long as you have Power Automate, you can actually try it out. And it's designed to be a very guided experience and very easy to use, right? And I'll give you a quick demo of how it works. So the whole idea is it has a simple process recorder. So um, let me take a pause here. Has anybody used Process Automate, Power Automate Desktop? Quick show of hands from the group, if you don't mind. Have you used Power Automate Desktop before? I would presume some of you would have. Okay, at least one person has raised his hand. Anybody else? Two. Only two people. Oh wow. Okay, so Goloknath, Power Automate Desktop might be a good topic as well.
Yeah,
So
correct. That's why I posted in chat. You can better show it. That should be better.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if we have enough time to show Power Automate Desktop, but anyway, the recorder that we use here to understand how people are executing steps is basically the same recorder that we use in Power Automate Desktop, right? So the whole concept is that uh, you do your job on your laptop or your machine the way you normally do. The process recorder will record the way you are doing it, right? And then maybe your colleague who's doing the same job, the process recorder will also record how they are doing, their job, right? So, for example, let's say you have got 15 people in the department and they're all doing invoice entry or they're all doing accounting entries or, similar work, right? Or like expense entry or whatever. So basically, what the recorder does is it records everybody's way of executing that common set of activities, right? And that's what the recorder is all about. And once those steps have been recorded, it creates automatically a process map, right? And it gives you analytics into how that process is actually being executed. Okay, so that's really what the whole process advisor tool is all about. So let me jump over to the tenant and show you how it actually works. All right. Okay. So here you can see I've got process advisor as a menu in Power Automate. Okay, and I have got one process here which I have recorded. All right, and I can go and create many processes. Uh, and this process actually you can see has 4 recordings. That means there are 4 times the process execution was recorded for doing an invoice entry. Okay, so that's basically maybe different people have actually gone and uh, uh, done the process execution and they have and whatever they have been steps they have been following has been recorded. Okay, so let's take a look at this particular process. So here you'll see that it was created many months ago. There were 4 recordings that were analyzed, and you'll see that there is one owner and it was shared with another user so that we actually can see how different people are actually doing the same steps of, in this example, of invoice entry, right? So what I can do is I can say, let's have a new recording. Okay, so let me kind of bring in the invoice entry application and we can say, okay, I want to do a new recording. So it will go and open the recorder. And the recorder is the same recorder that is available in Power Automate Desktop. Okay, I think the recorder will open in my other window or my other screen. Let it just open there and I'll bring it up here. Has it open? Not yet. Okay, there you go. So here you will see the Power Automate Desktop recorder has opened. So I'm not showing the full Power Automate Desktop. Maybe that is a topic for another session. I don't think we have time to cover that today. The desktop recorder will open and whatever we are going to do as steps will start getting recorded here. So for example, let's say if I want to do a new invoice entry, all right. So I'll say, okay, I will go to the invoices step, okay. And so start recording, right? So let's do start recording. So I'll go to the invoices step and then I will click on this button called new invoice. And then I'll do some data entry. So let's say account is, whatever, and invoice at an amount, let's say whatever, right? And maybe I'll change the status to invoiced. And then I will click on file and I'll click on save. Okay, that's the steps I'm using, all right? So once I'm done, as a user, I just click on finish and my recording will be created, okay? So that's basically how we go and create our different recordings. So the recording will get saved. The recording will get saved, and you can see now I have a 5th recording here, which I did just now, and the status is showing as in progress, right? So this is how we can go and keep recording. So if I share this process with different people, they will go and do their own recording. So here you can see this user called Ram has done it 4 times, and this user called Catherine, she has done it once. All right. So 2 people have contributed to the different recordings that I've got here. All right. Now, before I get the analytics, I need to make sure that I first analyze that particular recording. Okay. So anything that has been ready to analyze, then that will basically be available for analysis, right? So you have to kind of go into a few steps. So once I'm happy with the recording itself, see these are all the different steps that we had in the recorder. So for example, I clicked here, okay, and I click somewhere else, and I click somewhere else, etc. If I'm happy with this, I can say I'm ready to analyze this. Okay. So this is basically, I can go and start setting up the analysis and say this is ready to analyze. All right. So once I'm happy to analyze it, I can go and analyze. So I review the recording, and if I'm happy with the recording, I say, okay, I'm ready to analyze this recording. Okay. So if I'm happy to analyze this recording, I can go and click on analyze. And once the analysis is complete, I can then go and look at the analytics themselves. All right. So just to kind of recap the steps, I do the recording, I review the recording. If I'm happy with the recording, I say it is ready for analysis. Then I do the analysis. And once the analysis is complete, I get the output, the analytics themselves, right? So it kind of goes through those steps. All right. So here you will see I've got 4 recordings that have been analyzed, and the one that I just created, it's not analyzed yet, right? So I can go and say, okay, do I want to analyze or not analyze? It'll go and analyze them. And then I have the analytics themselves. So the steps that you saw that I went through, it will go and create a process map. All right. And that process map will actually tell me how different people are doing this same job of an invoice entry. All right. So let's just give it a couple of seconds for the analytics to load. So in the preview, I have seen that the analytics take a little while to load. It's a bit slow sometimes. Shall I refresh? Okay, there you go. So the analytics get loaded. So it's basically a Power BI report effectively. And what you'll see here will be all the recordings. You will see the variation in the time, and you'll also see the variation in the steps being followed by different people. All right. Okay, the process chart will load now. Oh, it's a bit slow today. It's really slow today. Okay, maybe let me come back. Any luck? Or I'm just trying to see is it loading quickly. Maybe I'll just refresh. Let's come back. I think it's taking a little too long to load. Okay. So this is the one that I want to show you, but that's taking a little too long to load, unfortunately. But what you will see here, if it decides to load up, is all the steps that were followed in the in that invoice entry process. What you will also see is that if many people follow a step, then that line of the process is going to be thick. It's a bit hard to visualize because the visualization hasn't turned up yet. Okay, I'm going to give it one more shot to try and refresh. There you go, finally. So here you can see is the process map, right? So it says that, okay, I launched it. So almost everybody, the 4 recordings that we have, the 5th one I have not done the analysis yet, right? So it's only got 4. So all the 4 people who ran this process, they had the common step of launching. And then all the 4 went to the create invoice process. But you will see that 3 of them actually went through this path. One of it went through some other path, right? So this gives me a bit of an analysis as to how people are actually going and doing the various activities, right? So, and it also tells me how long did each different step take. So for example, launch basically took a certain amount of time, create took a certain amount of time, close was pretty quick, and end was also quick. And if there's any variation of frequency, then it tells me that as well. So here you can see that 3 are here and 1 is taking this path, and that's really what we see here as well. And then any variation in time. So you can get an understanding of which path is the one that is actually taking time, right? Can I just automate some of that part, or do I need to automate the whole series of steps? It gives me a bit of an analysis of what bits of this should be worth automating as well. Also, the thicker the arrow, or the fatter the arrow, it means more people are going down that path. And the darker the color, it means that is where most time is being spent. All right. So the redder it is, it means more time is being spent. So the lighter the color, you'll see that is the one where people don't spend a lot of time. So this gives us a bit of an idea as to which are the processes which most people use, or the steps that most people take, and which are the areas where most time is also being spent, right? So that now this process is pretty simple, but in real life, processes are a little more complex than this, and it gives you a very good idea as to where you should be, where you should be actually focusing on driving some of that automation, right? Uh, so, and also it gives you a bit of time analysis, so that you can understand, what are the activities and which people are taking most time. So basically here you can see create new invoice is the one that takes most of the time. And here you can see that Catherine is the one who is actually taking the longest time for going through the entire steps, and what is the median time, and so on. So it gives you some analytics as well, which you can use to understand what parts of the process you are possibly good candidates for you to automate, right? Because right now what I've done is I've just done it manually, right? I was the one who was clicking everywhere, and I was the one who was doing the data entry and so on, right? So basically, if you're going to use automation, it means that I, as a human, am not going to spend that time anymore, and the automation tool is the one who's going to do that, right? And typically, that is the overall time benefit. Now, what you don't get is how long will the automated process take, right? So that information is not there, but that information can be easily captured once you have automated this. So once you, let's say, create an automation and you run it, you will know exactly how long that automation is taking. You know exactly how long you took from a manual point of view, and that tells you what is the overall, improvement that is possible for that particular process, right? So that's basically a very, very quick look into the process advisor functionality that we have got in Power Automate. Again, this is in preview, so please try it out, give feedback, and let us know whether you liked it, or whether there are things that you would like to see changed or improved. So with that, I think we are just 3 or 4 minutes short of 12 noon. I'll probably stop here, and maybe more discussions, more questions we can talk through.
Yeah, hi Hitendra. Actually, I can see one query. Probably during that time when it was loading, whether analytics will provide how many man-days it is going to save after process automation.
So the analytics at this
Yeah.
moment don't tell you specifically how much you will save. It
Mhm.
tells you it gives you an insight to help you decide which are the automation areas, which are the areas which are possibly good candidates for automation. So the whole idea is to help you decide which are the areas where there's a lot of manual activity and a lot of time being taken, and then you can decide that, okay, I want to automate this. But it doesn't exactly tell you that, okay, if you automate this, 20 minutes will become 20 seconds, right? It doesn't tell you that, because the execution of the automation has other variables as well, right? So it doesn't really tell you exactly that. But of course, the whole idea of putting an automation solution is that you do expect the benefits. So it helps you prioritize what are the areas that you want to focus on. That's the whole idea of Process Advisor.
Yeah, actually, yeah, he maybe we can say it is kind of suggestion. He is saying again, actually, that will give more clarity for business to take decision what require process automation and what is the benefit after automation. Yeah, that maybe we can say it's maybe kind of suggestion, but so far we will identify the candidate which require automation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, so just to kind of summarize, it's pretty easy to get started. Uses the same Power Automate desktop to record the manual actions, and automatically does the analytics, so that you can decide which are the ones that you want to really focus on, right? So that's pretty much it. And this is what I showed you as a demo. You create a process, invite people so that they can add their own recordings. You record them, you can edit them if you want, and then generate your process map, right? So that's pretty much what I had to share in this session. So yeah,
yeah.
hopefully it was
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah, yeah, it is definitely helpful. Actually, there is one more query also. Before we close, we want to answer. What type of processes are candidates for this? Actually, there is one question. What type of processes are candidate for this? So, Rocky, if you can open your mic, you can ask question directly. That will be great.
Okay, let me take a shot.
Yeah.
So well, typically the idea is that any manual activity that we are doing on a regular basis, which is considered routine, which is considered repetitive, those are the ideal set of processes which can be analyzed and automated, right? Because right now the whole idea of Process Advisor is uh, it gives you a view into those activities which you can automate using Power Automate Desktop, right? So the candidates where you tend to spend more time doing the same thing on a regular basis, those are the ideal candidates. So to give you
Yeah.
an example, right, I'll give you a personal example. Uh, every morning, I have a habit of opening up the XC.com to get USD SGD exchange rate, and I go and plug it into an Excel file because I want to see how some of my investments are doing. I do that every morning, right? And I spend 15-20 minutes doing that. To me, that is a very good way of saving 20 minutes every morning. I can just have it automated. Okay, and this is a very, very simple, a very, very personal example. In businesses, it's not this simple. The execution and the steps are much more complex. But just to give you an idea, where you spend time on a regular basis doing repetitive activities.
Okay. I think there is no more questions. So it's already 12 also. Uh, so hopefully we'll wind up. I think Rocky is typing something. Okay, perfect. So yeah. Hi Hitendra and hi everyone. Thank you for joining for this session, and it's really a great session. And I really thankful to Hitendra for joining us and keeping our request to share how exactly we will do document processing automation using Power Automate and then Process Advisor. Actually, really to be from my point of view, Process Advisor is something give more information actually for businesses to take the decision whether what is the perfect candidate for the automation. Normally people think that whether what they will automate, and sometimes it may goes manual. So it is really concrete steps to identify what is the perfect candidate for the automation. And with that note, I want to thank you again, Hitendra, and hopefully we will see you in our upcoming events also. And thank you everyone for joining us
Thank
in
you.
this meetup. So we'll see in the next May meetup. For the time being, thank you and bye.
Thank you. And thank you for
Thank you
inviting
so
me.
much.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Hitendra.
you so much.
Bye
Yeah.
bye. Have a good weekend,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
You
Thank
too. Bye.
you.
Thank you.